So today we'll be talking about the Hindu. This is my first video, so I'm a little bit nervous. But yeah, let's get started. So today it's April 21, and this is the first page where there is some kind of ad about Accenture. We all know what company it is. So let's move to the first page. So yesterday, every time Modi ji announced that he'll be coming online, like देश को संबोधित करेंगे, and he talked about how it's not be a good idea for Indians to have a national lockdown because it is going to economically hit our country. Okay, so Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday urged the states to only resort to lockdown as an absolute last resort and said that there were everyone to observe COVID-19 appropriate behavior. There would be no need for stringent reactions. Yeah, and then he talks about how there should be micro containment zones. Okay, so keep this in mind. After that, I think that this is something that everyone knows that from 1st May, everyone is allowed, people above 18 years are allowed to get vaccinated. So it will be a good idea to consult your family doctor first and get vaccinated. Now, the collective effort. He talked about a term called collective effort. What does it mean? He said that the second wave was a major challenge, but with collective enterprises, the country could overcome the challenges it posed. And then he talked about Ramzan and how this is a very important, week for Muslims. And yeah, and then he appealed to children. I don't think there is something that we need to go in depth because this is basic a thing, and for cat I don't think this is going to come, but you should be familiar with the term micro containment zones. Yeah, now let's talk about uh, SC orders for lockdown in 5 UP cities, statewide top court. Yeah, uh, our High Court, the Allahabad High Court, actually ordered this step, but Sri Yogi Adityanath said that there is no need for that, and we are managing the situation very well. So that's why there is no such lockdown in Uttar Pradesh as of now. But there are other measures such as there are three other measures such as the curfew at night, the weekend curfew, and the guidelines for challan, what we call challan, the new guidelines for the challan, where like first time it's around I think 1000, second time it's close to 10,000, and then there was an article uh, where they were talking about how a guy from UP becomes the first guy to get both of the challans. So after that, High Court, and by top court they mean Supreme Court. I think everyone is aware of that. So we'll move ahead. Nearby, as many of COVID-19. Okay, so a lot of cases are is increasing, so people should stay at home. Yeah, so there are two vaccines, I presume, Covaxin and Covishield, and I think we'll have Sputnik as well by the end of this month. Modi talked about it. Mr. Modi talked about it. And railway keeps 299 isolation coaches ready. This is of Delhi, I guess. No, this is for Southern Railway. Okay, okay. In Delhi also, in Anand Bihar, at Anand Bihar terminal, there were talks about this. So I think there is also there will be some news in the paper about that also. U.S. currency watch list and intrusion into policy. What is inclusion? Inclusion is about suppose I'm a king, you are a king, and you have launched an inclusion of my territory. Okay, I think that's understood, self-explanatory. I think the central bank's activity in the foreign exchange market has been perfectly balanced and completely legitimate within the accepted monetary policy mandate of central banks across the world. This is a recent phenomenon. It is inclusion policy space of central banks. Okay. So this is something which you should keep a note of. This news and high dollar purchases. The U.S. Treasury Department had recently retained India on a watch list for a currency manipulator submitted to the U.S. Congress. This happened 2 months back also. And another trigger for the inclusion on the current watch list is a trade surplus of 20 billion or more. Yeah, now this is a very, very interesting term. You should make a note of it. Trade surplus and do some Google search as well. It will be very informative for you. So now the India's trade surplus with US grew by about $5 billion to $23 billion from around $18 billion in the previous fiscal year. Fiscal year, I mean that financial year, I presume. I hope I'm not wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am. In response to the question on the US move, Mr. Vadavan said the RBI had been taking necessary steps to maintain stability in the financial market and not accumulating forex reserves like China did in the past. So forex reserve is a good term and trade surplus, and you all should go for it. I'm sorry for the background noises. Yeah, I hope you guys don't have any problem hearing me. So tourist spot shuts and night curfew starts. Flyover bridges were closed for traffic checkpoints set up on RTL roads in city. Okay, so they're talking about Chennai, where the major all of the tourist spots have been shut, and we can see how severe this second strain of COVID is for us, for Indians, and this is really, really something where you have to keep yourself safe. Otherwise, if you get infected, then there is a major chance that you are going to affect many other people as well. So these were the major news in India. India reports over 2,000 deaths. Production COVID scaled up massively. So like I mentioned that Mr. Modi has told us Indians that there will be a increase in the production of vaccines. So now let's talk about some regional news. Adherence to COVID-19 norms poor in public transport. Despite the government announcing restrictions, commuters complain that some MNT buses are still crowded with many. So that's the problem with many not wearing masks properly. People still are not at all serious about their safety, and in the return they put others in danger as well. So yeah, we can see how people are reacting and how people are adapting to this, to I'm sorry, to such fools. Okay, so they're talking about Chennai and Metropolitan Transport Corporation. They're talking about the buses which are run there. They have a corporation, Metropolitan Transport Corporation. So with the yeah, I think this is self-explanatory. I don't have to go in detail. Auto rickshaws and cabs. Besides, the government order also stated that rental taxis and cabs should operate with a maximum three passengers. Okay, so this is a new guideline how you can save. Suppose there is a question that what if it was up to you to execute a lockdown, and how would you save India from going into the fourth and fifth stages of COVID war, I guess, from saving it from going into those stages. Okay, so corporation to permit private COVID-19 care centers. Okay, Private hospitals have been asked to contact the corporation for getting permission to run private care through tie-ups with private hotels that are rolled under the corporation. Okay, so this is another term where the government is actually trying to help people, help the infected by making these private COVID-19 care centers. I think it is going to be very beneficial for us, and you should keep this in your mind as well. How you can fight, you can do tie-ups with hotels, and you can use the present infrastructure. You have the infrastructure at place, you don't have to create new places for the hospital. You can tie up, and you can conduct whatever you have to, I mean, in terms of treatments and all. I'm really sorry, this is for the, disturbance. Complex procedure performed on personnel with Crohn's disease in city hospital. Okay, so you can search for this. I don't think this is much of a important thing to discuss here. After railway, MTC makes vaccination for staff. Okay. Yeah, so many companies in India are also working towards vaccinating their employees for free, and this goes with MNCs as well, various multinational companies in India as well. M&M wants more protection for vote counting centers. Yeah, as this is a voting season, so private hospitals told to reserve 50% beds. Okay, so this is also something you can keep in mind in case you get infected. So you'll know where to go. Don't go in for total lockdown, says Alagiri. It will cause immense hardships to 3.5 crore daily wages. See, this is a thing that many people are talking about for not implementing a national lockdown. But the thing is that most of these daily wage workers, they don't really have work because seriously, just look around. Do you see any construction work or any kind of work going on? Except some kind of work where people are living there, like household workers and all. So they are, most of them are living there, they have a house there. But the ones who don't, they are coming back to their city, they're coming back to their home. So I think the migration has already started. It's just a matter of time. Weekend lockdown in Pondicherry. Okay, keep that in mind. I think many places have been put under weekend lockdown, and Delhi is to have have a permanent lockdown, right? I mean temporary lockdown for a week. I mean till 30th April. Sorry if I'm wrong. Governor uses VCs to join fight against COVID-19. State universities. VCs means Vice Chancellor. I think this will be about creating awareness among youth, because it's very important, because this new strain is very harmful for youth as well, and people are going out. Old people, they usually refrain from going outside for work and all, and they usually don't have that kind of work, important work, so they can postpone it. But we, the adult population, have to go out. So yeah, you have to, this is a good step towards, I think, curbing and curbing the nonsense which is being spread among youth, and making them, much more aware about this pandemic, and urging them to wear mask and take necessary steps. So over 1300 missing mobile phones recovered. Okay, I don't think we need to go in depth of that. Employee experience and upskilling will take center stage. A LinkedIn report shows how the pandemic has affected lasting changes in the talent stratosphere, particularly expanding HR's role in this area. Okay, so they are talking about, I think, a post-COVID scenario where HR is going to see a much expanding role in this area. Internal mobility. The pandemic has fueled internal mobility across sectors. LinkedIn's future of talent reports point out of more than 9 in 10 of the commissioner in India would be looking to fill open roles internally in the post. The post elaborates that seven companies in India settle on hiring internal hiring value. The insider's perspective it brings to the picture. So yeah, you can keep this factor in your mind for in case you are going for a job or something. Skill mapping. 95% of companies in India have decided L&D programs to help employees learn new skills and prepare for the future according to the. Yeah, I think we see this in most of the big companies. They even pay for your courses and all, so you can learn and you can sharpen your skills. Research shows 91% of the companies in India use data to make informed talent hiring decision. Data, yes, this data. See, like Google have a profile as a profile on you. Even companies are stressing more towards creating a separate profile for you, and yeah, using it when needed. Employee engagement. Remote working has brought employee experience into stark relief. Yeah, we I think we all can agree to that. In 2020, according to the report, the rate of attrition increased 1.5 times in India as employees battle long shifts while working remotely. Okay, I think we are done with this page. Let's move. So many ads. Okay. Now this is about state. I think okay, this is a big number, I guess. Yeah, so these many people have been tested positive in Chennai. I don't think you need to um, go with this. Okay, now this is the editorial page where we need to have a conversation. Uh, a low carbon future through sector led change. In India, sector led action based approach could provide the framework to drive low carbon transformation. Okay, regarding low carbon emission, what do you think of electric cars? Do you think they are a good alternative? But before that, you should search also about the lithium batteries they use and how, what to do when they run out of life. You should look into that. So, electric cars are not completely like very helpful towards our sustainable future. Yeah, they are better than the cars we have now, but they also affect nature in some way. In the build-up to the Leaders Climate Summit organized by the United States this week, there has been a flurry of articles about whether India should announce a net zero emission target. Okay, the Intergovernment Panel on the Climate Change 1.5 degrees Celsius report called for global carbon emissions to reach net zero by 2050, which the pressure cooker of climate diplomacy has quickly transformed into a call for all countries to announce 2050 as a net zero target year. Keep this in your mind. Yet global net zero may require some countries reaching net zero before this. Yeah, we can say Switzerland and other countries. It is important that they are body at home to match the vigor. Is this a climate vulnerable country? Okay, what India must do? Yeah, this is a good question. So, what is the way forward for India? Saying India will take only modest steps until richer countries do more is not viable in the context of a global pandemic crisis. Yet, announcing an Indian 2050 net zero commitment is taking on much heavier burden of decarbonization than many wealthier countries and could seriously compromise India's development needs. We suggest a third party focus on concrete near term sectoral transformation through aggressive adoption of technologies that are within our reach and an honest approach effort to avoid high carbon lock ins. You can see Nawami Gange campaign also, but it was not a third party. It was like a government sector department was looking for it. The thing is, if it's not a private held company, then usually there's a lot of chances for bribe and all. I mean, we all criticize government for bribes and for the money they get and the money they use to work. to put into use. So there is a major difference between that. Okay, we'll not get into detail here. This is the best accomplished by focusing on sectoral low carbon development pathways that combine competitiveness, job creation, distribution justice, and low pollution in key areas where India is already changing rapidly. So setting up that third party departments, in these places where there is a major emission, and then coming up with ways to reduce that. Okay, here we detail what a decarbonized power sector. Yeah, this is a major thing to do because power sector is one of the major reason here for the uh, increase in the carbon footprint. So for the electricity sector, see in electricity sector, oh sorry, in automobile sector, government said that we are going to give you subsidy, and that is going to in return um, enable more and more people to buy an electric car, which will be very beneficial towards this low carbon future thing, a contributing factor, in fact. Ceiling for coal power. At first, bold step would be to pledge that India will not grow its coal-fired power capacity beyond what is already announced and reach peak coal electricity capacity by 2030. A second necessary step is to create a multi-stakeholder just transition company representing all levels of government and the affected communities to ensure decent livelihood opportunities beyond coal in India. Yeah, so the major reason behind this coal thing is in India is that it's used for power, but it provides a lot of job to people. So the new administration will have to come up with a way to ensure that these livelihood are not destroyed. So improve energy services, timelines is also a great way to tackle this because if a government plans everything and announces it, then they will be held accountable by the public or by the media houses to keep them in check, because a lot of money will also be allocated to this new administration. So yeah, these things will be very beneficial, and if government uses this, I think it will be very helpful towards low carbon footprint. Managing an upheaval, universal vaccination is a necessary goal, but India is nowhere near achieving it. I think we all can agree to that because I think 11% or 14% of the population has been vaccinated so far, whereas the figure is around 50-65% in other nations, developing, not developing nations, the nations which are already developed. So yeah, and India has a big population problem, so that is going to be problematic. A combination of panic, public pressure, comprehension of the magnitude of the crisis that India is in seems to have prompted the center to authorize vaccines to anyone above 18. Yeah, this is despite the problem in scaling up production and in the supply and management of vaccines amid the surge. Mr. Poonawala actually tweeted about this to Mr. Joe Biden, I guess, regarding the availability for the raw material for developing vaccines. And yeah, let's see what happens. So this is the problem. The production is not being able to scale it up in India, and because of that, there was a very limited amount of vaccines happening. I mean, they've already put a cap on age, and now from 1st May they'll be open to people older than 18 years. So still, it's a long time, and let's see how this turns out. Given that about 127 million doses have been administered, including a section of these above 45 without underlying health condition, around 17 million have been fully inoculated, or about 5% of the intended beneficiaries. At the optimistic rate of 3 million doses a year, it would take at least 260 days from today for every adult to get at least a single shot. And this is where we know that India is far away from what we want it to be. And with this, you can keep this in your mind that virus is not going anywhere. Sorry. India, 8 months ago, India had begun a decline in daily infections to the extent that by January, India's leadership itself, going by its own policy actions, believed that a devastating second wave was unlikely. There is no other explanation why India, following the example of US and UK, did not tie up orders to inoculate most of its adult within this year. India also applied different standards, waiving critical trials for Covaxin, but having stringent requirements for foreign companies. The supply lines are thus inadequate. So I think now we know why it's government's fault that we are in this mess. And it is. If you don't agree with me, then let me know in the comment section, and we can have a little bit talk there. Yeah. So second wave, the hospitalization and medical oxygen crisis have derailed. Yeah, we all know that. And yeah, I think they're talking about all that part here. And you can take a snap if you really want to go in depth, but I've given you a good idea. So, a league of their own. European clubs accountable only to investors are looking for profit and ignoring fans. So, this is about uh, some, let's just say ki big boys club. They have a lot of money, so they are planning a league of their own, and this is a major setback for football fans, for English football fans. So let's see how people react to that. And in fact, I saw some memes related to that where they were talking about the IPL and F1, and they were saying that only best three teams, so only Mumbai and Mumbai were going to have another league, Indian Premier League, so Super Premier League. So that was quite funny, and let's just see how this thing turned out for those English clubs. Fight the pandemic, not the opposition. The central government must shed its policy of credit is mine and crisis is yours and get down to course correction. Yeah, that is true. Let's see. There's a famous saying, bad examples serve as a good warning signs. The nation was hoping that after witnessing and experiencing the effects of shortage of personal protective equipment kits, this mask and hazmat suits in the harsh. Yeah, in March, April, in those key times, there was a shortage, but fortunately, we are not there anymore. However, amid the bad news of rising COVID-19 deaths and depleted resources, India's young population can heave a sigh of relief that the ruling regime has finally considered the suggestion of the opposition to look on the universal vaccination and woken up to the reality that 80% of the population below 45 years old, who constitute a large segment of the COVID-19 infected citizenry, needs protection. Yeah, so they are talking about how it's important to vaccinate those people who are bit in between 18 to 45 years old, and vaccine diplomacy can wait. So this is about the Sputnik and other vaccine where they are talking about which one to allow and which one not. If it's safe, I think they should allow, because they also waived a lot of trials for the co-vaccine. So yeah, let us to the editor. Pandemic management. One cannot dispute the need to vaccinate people of all ages. However, one should factor in the availability of vaccine in required number of in numbers to make the campaign a success. Going by available reports, it would take few more months for the manufacturer of the two locally available vaccines to scale up the production. By this, they are talking about the two vaccines we have and their production hits. Are with the companies who are making them. The lockdowns are expected to break the chain of transmission, which could offer some respite to the healthcare workers and facilities because they are already overwhelmed. Door-to-door testing and tracing to spot asymptomatic spreader must be intensified. Yes, this is a major thing because if they do that and they get the results soon, I mean, not late, the way they are getting it right now, then it will be very beneficial to break the chain and isolate people. So, the long battle against the Maoists. This is about the Battle of Pangala, where in the rest left three charans of the Chunav, the main focus is on this part of the society. I mean, this part of this caste because they control a lots of vote in that area. Um, let's see, tackling vaccine hesitancy. Yeah, because people are very much hesitant toward this vaccine because in their neighborhood or someplace there were people who got ill. So yeah, this should be kept in mind. Benefits of vaccine. Yes, I get several calls a day from concerned friends and relatives on which vaccine is better. My answer to most of them is simple, resounding yes. Vaccine are one of the most important public health tools we have to mitigate the impact of infectious diseases. While some vaccines prevent infections from gaining a foothold in our body, others reduce the severity of illness. Currently available COVID-19 vaccines belong to the second category. They are disease-modifying vaccines. Okay. It's important to understand that a vaccinated individual can contract SARS, CoV-2, CoV-2, and without getting noticeably ill, can pass it on to other susceptible individuals. This is why face mask should be worn even after one receives the COVID-19 vaccine. I think this article is solving a lot of my questions I had. And yes, despite such diet and benefits of COVID-19 vaccine, many are still hesitant to accept the life-saving scientific interventions. This is not new. Letters to vaccine had been okay. So they're talking about why people were usually resistant because they think government is doing something wrong here. So this is not important. You consult with your doctor. If you have a underlying disease, then don't go for it. But if you don't have it, then you should go for it, for your safety and for people around you. There cannot be a one size fits all approach to vaccine hesitancy, but some things have worked in the past. Key among them is building public trust through clear and transparent communication. Yeah, sending positive message, and yeah, I think they are talking about the things which government has been doing. Same old rote learning. The pandemic gave administration gave an opportunity to examine the education system, but nothing has changed. Yes, exactly. I want you guys to tell me in the comment section that do you think that education has went into a reform education system in fact because it's still the same and it's getting less and less interesting for children to be attentive in the class. So new measures have to be implemented, otherwise it's really going to be problematic. Doses needed for 18 to 44 population. What 10 million doses look like? Wow. So this is what 10 million doses looks like, and this is how much we need. Does administration until doses administration until Tuesday. Okay, doses needed for Indian 60 plus population. This doses needed for, so you can look at the figures, and I think they're self-explanatory. Okay, I think we'll go with foreign news now. From tomorrow, I'll just start with the editorial section, so there is not so this video doesn't become a very long. Few countries cannot set global rules. Xi Jinping at the Bao Forum, China's leader says instability is on the rise in the world. Yeah, instability is in the rise in the world on the rise because. There's a lot of problems and things going on. Joint vaccine production. I think it's a good idea, and many countries are doing it. Well, it depends on the country because the thing is that if the country has an infrastructure, then they put a lot of resources towards developing, then they can focus on scaling of production rather than a joint program. Sri Lanka India travel bubble delayed. Okay, so you can go to Sri Lanka if you want. US envoy to Moscow returning to Washington for consultants. Okay. Duterte ready to deploy Navy officers SCS claim. Okay, Pakistan Parliament to decide on French envoy's expulsion. Okay, EU agency says blood clot real J&J side effect. Johnson and Johnson. They are talking about the Johnson and Johnson vaccine. Russia says it will launch own space station in 2025. Okay, so this is interesting thing to make a note of. Yeah, and now we'll go into the business section. And government says container shortages resolved. To spur local manufacture of the was is crucial to global maritime trade. Okay, so this thing has been resolved. I mean, this is used in oh, Indian export. This is a contributing factor in import and export factors. Local curves have started to hurt activity. Power use, e-way, bill collections drop. Okay. Okay, so they're talking about how these local curves are starting to affect the market. In a way, you know what a curb to halt output as a precaution. Okay, so I think their shares are going to go down. ICRA sees slower growth in physical 2022. I mean, this is pretty much obvious because there was a lot of strain on people after 2020 lockdowns, and I think we are going into that scenario again. So it's really going to be growth is really going to be slow, I presume, but maybe not. Okay, let's see. City tells retail customers to it's business as usual in India. Okay. Okay. DBS, Development Bank of Singapore, yes. Others mull bids for city's business. Okay, Citibank's business. Okay, LIC's premium income rises 10% in FY 21. I think it's a good stock. Yeah, LIC because they were also going to have an IPO, but I think it will be delayed. Let's see. Pre-owned car market to cross 7 million units by fiscal year 25, I guess, financial year 25. Yeah, let's go to back. Okay. Yeah, disruption is ever present because technology is changing and a lot can be changed. With innovation. It's not like currently the IPL Indian Premier League are something like which is limited. I mean, not everyone can participate and become an owner, but yeah, disruption is always there. Because the one who controls the money controls the game. I mean, everyone has heard that saying. So yeah. So from tomorrow onwards, I'll focus more towards editorial section and the finance section, so that the video doesn't become very long. And I hope you guys, and if someone has watched this video till the end, then drop a like and subscribe and yeah, please comment that you have watched it till the end, and yeah, I'll be much more, I'll be a lot happy to reply to that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your attention. Thank you.